For decades, it was almost universally agreed that money was the most important resource in the military world. A well-funded army would always have an edge over those with less to spend. Countries with cash to burn would always be stronger than those with limited defense budgets, and the most expensive assets would always trump cheaper, simpler alternatives. Since 2022, Ukraine has rewritten every one of those rules. Despite fighting this war with a smaller force, fewer resources, and far less money than its opponent, it has consistently defied the odds. It has outthought and outmaneuvered Russia to turn what could have been a quick conflict into one that has now lasted over 4 years and shows zero signs of ending the way the Kremlin imagined. And Kyiv's forces just put on an absolute masterclass in military cost efficiency, using a $500 asset to take out a multi-million-dollar aircraft, delivering a message that threatens to break the foundations that Russia's entire war machine was built on. It's not the first time we've heard a story like this. Ukraine has developed an astonishing reputation for constructing one of the world's most efficient military forces, repeatedly using relatively affordable hardware to disrupt, damage, and destroy Russian assets that are worth a fortune in comparison. Time and time again, it's used cheap drones to bombard the enemy's ships, planes, armored vehicles, and infrastructure. And Ukraine just pulled it off again, producing yet another utterly humiliating loss for Russia's commanders to mull over as they lick their wounds once more. The incident occurred on the morning of July 15th near Vyazova in Russia's Belgorod Oblast. It was carried out by Ukraine's 427th Separate Brigade of Unmanned Systems, codenamed Rarog, as confirmed by the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Robert Brovdy, more commonly known by his call sign Magyar. Magyar has become the face of Ukraine's drone operations in recent years and is often among the first to share details of the country's countless UAV strikes. Within hours of the attack taking place, he posted a video showing exactly what happened. The brief clip shows a Russian helicopter flying over fields as a Ukrainian drone closes in on it from the rear. The drone flies level with the helicopter for a few seconds before ascending and striking it from above, colliding directly with its propellers. This wasn't just any helicopter, it was a Mi-28, a heavyweight, all-weather, day-night, anti-armor military attack helicopter that dates back to the days of the Soviet Union. It was first manufactured in the early 1980s, but wasn't officially introduced to military service until 2009, due to a combination of factors and delays related to military contract competition and the economic collapse of the Soviet Union. But don't let the Mi-28's lengthy development fool you. This is a serious piece of military hardware. Measuring up at over 55 feet or 17 meters in length, with a height of 12.5 feet or 3.8 meters and a wingspan of 16 feet, 4.88 meters, it boasts a max takeoff weight of 11,500 kilograms, just over 25,000 pounds, and can carry up to 1,720 liters or 450 US gallons of fuel internally, plus another 571 liters or 151 gallons in drop tanks. Powered by a pair of 2,194 horsepower Klimov VK2500 turboshaft engines, it can reach an impressive cruise speed of 270 km per hour, 170 miles per hour, and maximum speeds of around 320 km per hour or 200 miles per hour when needed. With a range of up to 435 kilometers, 270 miles, and an endurance of 2 hours, the Mi-28 was designed with attack missions in mind, and it has more than enough firepower to threaten any assets in its way. It boasts a chin-mounted NPPU-28 turret with a 30mm automatic Shipunov 2A42 autocannon, which can fire anywhere from 200 to 800 rounds per minute with an effective range of 1,500 meters or 4,900 feet for ground vehicles and 2,500 meters or 8,200 feet for airborne targets. The cannon can also fire a wide range of rounds, including armor-piercing, discarding sabots, and high-explosive incendiary rounds. On top of this, the Mi-28 comes equipped with up to 16 supersonic Attacker-V missiles, with a range of warheads including high-explosive anti-tank options, thermobaric variants, and expanding rod warheads. These options allow the Mi-28 to engage everything from main battle tanks with explosive reactive armor to infantry, buildings, bunkers and other helicopters. The Mi-28 can also be equipped with a wide range of additional armaments, including air-to-air and air-to-surface missiles, as well as aerial bombs, making it one of the most flexible assets at the disposal of the Russian Air Force. And Russia has made regular use of this particular helicopter throughout its war with Ukraine. Early on in the conflict, back in 2023, there were numerous reports regarding Mi-28 attack helicopters being deployed in frontline locations, equipped with new anti-tank missiles designed to counter Ukraine's rapidly expanding inventory of armored vehicles. Working alongside other models like the Ka-52, the Mi-28 has proven effective at damaging and destroying some of Ukraine's main battle tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and reinforced strongholds. There have also been reports of Russian forces using this particular helicopter as a drone hunter, with some units spotted chasing and shooting down Ukrainian reconnaissance and one-way attack drones with limited degrees of success. In short, the Mi-28 is widely regarded as one of the best attack helicopters on the planet today. Each one represents a valuable asset for the Kremlin's forces, and while they may not make the headlines as often as drones and missiles, they've played a crucial role in the conflict so far. And that's why it's such a big deal whenever Ukraine is able to damage or destroy one of these aircraft. According to the open-source intelligence group Oryx, Ukrainian forces have achieved that feat on at least 20 occasions over the course of the war so far. 20 Mi-28s have been confirmed to have either been severely damaged or entirely destroyed, though the true figure is likely to be significantly higher, since there are cases in which Russian assets are wiped off the map but no clear evidence can be found to confirm their destruction. In this case, however, the evidence is clear to see in video format, as we watch the drone home in on its target, mere millimeters away from the helicopter's propeller blades before the screen goes black. But the most astonishing part of the story is the type of drone Ukraine actually used. According to multiple news reports and a press release from the Ukrainian drone manufacturer Skyfall, the drone in question was none other than one of Skyfall's own Shrike 10 FPV units. The Shrike 10 is a remarkably effective and astonishingly cheap tactical strike drone, featuring a 10-inch frame and the ability to carry payloads weighing up to 300 kilograms, 6.6 pounds. It's part of the broader Shrike family of drones, which have been ranked among the most used drones in the Russia-Ukraine war so far. They boast a flight range of up to 30 kilometers, 18.6 miles, and a maximum speed of 120 kilometers per hour, 75 miles per hour, a maximum altitude of around 800 meters, 2,600 feet, and a total flight duration of up to 15 minutes. But without doubt the most impressive aspect of the Shrike 10 is its price tag. These drones cost an estimated $500 per unit. In fact, in some cases they can be made for even less, around $400, according to the manufacturer. Thanks to the Shrike's cheap production costs, Ukraine can easily make and deploy thousands of these drones without having to worry about spending a fortune in the process. And as this story shows, these drones may be cheap, but they are perfectly capable of taking out far larger and significantly more valuable targets. The Mi-28, for example, is estimated to cost between $15 and $19 million per unit. A $500 drone against a $19 million helicopter, and it's the drone that takes the win. In terms of cost efficiency, it simply doesn't get much better than that. And the crazy part is that this isn't even the first time that this has happened. Almost the exact same scenario played out back in September of 2025. Then, once again, reports emerged of Ukrainian drone pilots successfully striking and destroying a Russian helicopter using a simple FPV drone. Again, it was the Unmanned Systems Forces commander Magyar who shared the news online, writing on Telegram. The Mi-8 helicopter was destroyed by pilots of the 59th Brigade of the Unmanned Systems Forces with an FPV drone. Magyar also shared a video of the attack, a 30-second clip in which we can clearly see the drone collide with the aircraft, triggering an instant explosion as the helicopter bursts into flames and crash lands in a cloud of thick smoke. Later details revealed that the aircraft in question was actually an Mi-8 transport helicopter, not an Mi-28, but it was still worth over $10 million. And once again, Ukraine's drone crews relied on a $500 FPV drone, later confirmed to be a Shrike 10, to achieve this outcome. Before we dig into what this means for both Ukraine and Russia, the Military Show brings you the full picture, not just the headlines. Hit subscribe to stay ahead of the curve. This story isn't just about one drone and one helicopter. It's a microcosm of the entire war. It's a symbol of what this conflict has become and the deep divide that exists between both sides' respective strategies and doctrines. For years, decades even, Russia's military has been obsessed with expense. From the days of the Soviet Union through to the 21st century regime of Vladimir Putin, the country has consistently focused on spending extortionate amounts of money on world-leading innovations. Time after time, at military expositions and Red Square parades, Putin's army has repeatedly shown off its latest multi-million-dollar projects, from massive main battle tanks to enormous missiles that can fly faster and further than those that came before. This is the main way in which Russia has projected power for generations. It has spent more and built bigger than almost any other country on Earth in order to intimidate those that might stand against it. And for years, the strategy seemed to work. Even some of the world's mightiest military forces were understandably fearful of antagonizing the Kremlin and feeling the wrath of the grand Russian war machine. And when Putin gave the order to fully invade Ukraine in 2022, the wider world logically expected that Russia's military would rampage across the country, wiping out whatever kind of resistance Kyiv might be able to muster. Of course, as we know now, that's not what happened, because Ukraine operated according to a very different playbook. It didn't rely on the biggest tanks and the best missiles. Even with financial support from its Western allies, it didn't have the funds to match Russia's ever-expanding military budget, so it had to find much cheaper ways to defend itself. It had to do something that seemed impossible: to nullify and counter the world's second strongest military force with a fraction of its budget. It had to figure out how to stop million-dollar missiles with air defenses worth tens of thousands, to stop vast drone swarms without the luxury of enormous interceptor stockpiles, to wipe out extensive mechanized assault groups with relatively rudimentary mines and anti-tank rockets. For the vast majority of countries, the challenge would have been too great. Many would have fallen at the first hurdle, failing to stop the relentless Russian advance, but not Ukraine. Ukraine dared to believe in the impossible, and through grit, determination, and endless hours of hard work, it made it possible. Now it's reaping the rewards. Because the recent attack on the Mi-28 helicopter is just one example of hundreds more. With every passing week, fresh reports emerge of Ukrainian drones taking out much larger and more valuable Russian assets. It's not always a case of $500 UAVs taking out $19 million aircraft. Sometimes it's $5,000 drones destroying $1 million radars, or $25,000 Baba Yaga bomber drones ending the lives of a dozen enemy troops, or swarms made up of dozens of drones blowing up Russian oil refineries, causing incalculable financial losses for the Kremlin. The numbers vary, but they are almost always in Ukraine's favor. On July 15th, for example, Magyar took to Telegram once more to share the news of Ukrainian drone units successfully striking no fewer than 20 Russian vessels sailing across the Sea of Azov. The ships, reportedly part of the Russian Shadow Fleet, which Moscow uses to evade financial sanctions and export oil and other resources around the world, included 17 oil tankers, 2 LNG tankers, and a tugboat. Magyar also shared video evidence of the vessels being hit with a compilation of clips showing FPV drones homing in on their targets. He didn't provide details of which drones were used, and Ukraine has such a diverse arsenal nowadays that it's difficult to know which units are used in specific strikes. But many cost mere thousands to make, or even less in some cases, and they are continuously being used against targets that cost significantly more. The more these strikes take place, the worse the equation gets for Russia, as Ukraine uses simple and cheap hardware to deal literally billions of dollars of combined damage. It's not sustainable as far as the Kremlin is concerned, and that's the point. Over the last year, Ukraine has clearly realized that this war will not be won on the front lines. It won't be won by trying to go toe-to-toe with Russia and simply attempting to take out as many tanks and troops as possible, since the Kremlin always has more manpower and assets in reserve, waiting to take the place of those that have been eliminated. Instead, this war will be won or lost in the finance department. If Ukraine can make the conflict as costly as possible for Russia, the Kremlin may eventually be left with little choice but to withdraw its forces and negotiate a peace agreement. And the most efficient way to do that isn't with expensive missiles or armored vehicles, it's with drones. It's no surprise, therefore, that the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky just announced his intentions to double Ukraine's drone production capacity in the next 12 months. During the recent celebrations of Ukrainian Statehood Day in Kyiv, Zelensky admitted that even he has been surprised to see how quickly his country's defense sector has managed to scale up production. "I remember when I first publicly announced the state's plan to produce 1 million drones a year. There was a lot of skepticism both in Ukraine and abroad. Now we can state we are producing 10 million drones a year. 10 million. And there will be 20 million. That figure was also stated by the country's Deputy Defense Minister, Mstislav Banik, who recently told the NATO Parliamentary Assembly that Ukraine's defense industry already has the potential to produce 20 million drones per year, provided it receives sufficient funding and support from its Western allies. Banik added that the defense sector could also manufacture thousands of missiles for use in both long-range strikes and air defense operations, and called on allies to continue investing in the country to help it achieve its ambitions. Plenty of countries have heeded the call. Germany, for example, has recently announced a €90 million or $103 million funding package specifically to help Ukraine acquire more of the very same Skyfall Shrike drones that took out the Mi-8 helicopter in September 2025 and the Mi-28 just days ago. The package covers the cost of 50,000 of these FPV combat drones, a veritable army of UAVs just ready and waiting to rain down hell on Russian targets, each with the potential to eliminate the likes of helicopters, armored vehicles, artillery systems, fortifications, and enemy personnel. And the good news about the Shrike doesn't end there. Earlier this year in March, Skyfall made headlines when its Shrike 10 Fiber won first place in the US Army's drone dominance competition, achieving a near-perfect score of 99.3 out of a possible 100 points. The test took place at Fort Benning in the US state of Georgia, involving US Army representatives evaluating the quality and performance of each system in simulated combat conditions. So it's not only that the Shrike is incredibly affordable, it's also one of the best all-round military drones in existence today, earning the US military's seal of approval. And this is just one piece of what has quickly become the best drone army on the planet. An army that includes such esteemed innovations as the Liuchi long-range strike drone, the Wild Hornet's Sting interceptor, the Baba Yaga bombers, the Firepoint FP1, and even unmanned surface drones for strikes on naval targets like the Magura V5 and V7. They vary massively in size, speed, design, and capabilities, but all provide incredible cost-to-value potential, and that, perhaps, is the most important part of all because it's these drones' cheap price tags that allow Ukraine to make them so easily and ensure that every successful strike is worth so much more. And it's not just in the air and on the water that Ukraine is using unmanned assets to cause chaos for the Kremlin. You can watch this video to see how Kyiv's increasingly powerful ground robot army is wreaking havoc in frontline kill zones. Alternatively, check out this video to see how Ukrainian defense forces are using their drones to sink one Russian ship after another across the Sea of Azov and beyond as part of their quest to isolate and eventually liberate the Crimean Peninsula. Make sure to subscribe to The Military Show for more great military news and analysis that you won't want to miss. And thank you, as always, for watching.